title is that?
Back in the day, watching movies was not as simple as it is now. I mean, even 10 years ago, you could rewind a film, you could easily find them online, and services like Netflix were almost a household name. But when I was a kid, the way we had to watch movies was in a much harder way. We had these bricks called VHSs, and though they're outdated now, I always like to revisit them for a nostalgic feel, how the movies were meant to be watched, and finally, I can see Stuart Little, the way it was intended to be viewed, so let's crack this baby open and see what's in store for our little mouse friend. Oh, Stuart Little is very resilient, but I guess I should have learned that from the movie. Only real fans watch movies frame by frame, but even I'll admit, this is sort of inefficient. There's gotta be an easier way to do this. These were relics of long ago and your gateway into a movie-going experience, and as they evolved, they got more robust. Sure, their main job was to play content, but over time, DVDs became more than just watching a movie. It was a novel experience you could fuck around with for an hour and then get bored of very quickly. Now, many a time, these were just images with menu options, but sometimes there were exceptions.
Shrek 2? What kind of title is that?
This is the best menu in cinema history, alright? I don't think it's a secret that I sort of am a Shrek fanatic. After the first movie, it was a hit, but the second movie did something that many sequels can't. Develop the world, not tarnish the reputation of the original, and outperform the original. And with movies, you only had 92 minutes to get enveloped into this world before it was gone. What else could whet the unsatiated tongues of those begging for more?
Oh, come on, work with me!
So let's get going. I have a collection of all 4 of the DVDs, several copies. But when I'm in more of a nostalgic mood, I whip out the original DVD cases. It's in full screen. A fine teaser for the adventure to come, so let's pop this puppy in and perceive the perfection of photo-video prowess. So let's break it down. Of course, we have the staple Shrek green with this reoccurring font, Bosma Uncial, popularized by the storybook openings iconic to the Shrek series. But that pales in comparison to when you boot it up for the first time. Take a look at this cast!
Free for all! Donkey!
I'm a donkey on the edge!
The cast have all of their heads looking around, reacting to other characters, signifying through mere idle glances their relationship to these other characters. It's these certain details that give Shrek 2 a certain luster. And that doesn't even go into the dialogue.
Just eat your goobers and shut your gob, okay?
God, how did he know my pickup line? So like many of you, this has kept me up for several nights of my childhood, but I finally figured out what it means. Goobers is a reference to a peanut, and Donkey is being the peanut gallery in this scene, and that's a term used to refer to one who's interjecting with their opinion when it's not needed. Shrek is essentially saying to keep his opinions to himself. This is the end of an arc for me, okay? It essentially allows Donkey to be a foil for the rest of the characters prior to even entering the film. And for veteran viewers, it just serves as more comedic hijinks, bonus content for Donkey and your characters. Here, they mention a bunch of other movies as Donkey goes through the list of movies he wishes Shrek 2 was called.
What about Shrek 2, Day of the Donkey? Shrek 2, The Donkey's Revenge?
Peace.
Too Fast, Too Donkey? How about Fellowship of the Donkey? Donkey King, I like that. The Dead Donkey Society.
This is torture.
Shrek 2, Donkey Reloaded. Shrek 2, the real Jackass movie.
How about this? Shrek 2, dude, where's my donkey? Oh, there he is, cut from the movie because he talks too much.
What kind of title is that?
I could watch this over and over. Each time you can look at a certain character and get a different experience out of it. You can see them seething with anger every second this goes by. And they all have their own interesting reaction shots based off of what's happening. When Shrek eventually jumps in, everybody will smile and laugh at Shrek's joke, while Fairy Godmother and Charming are less receptive to what he says. Charming even begins laughing at Shrek, then he looks back to Mummy, then immediately goes back to brooding. It's the little details like this that reinforce his childish role within the film. It only plays this dialogue sequence once when you turn on the DVD. After that, it cycles through this awkward stance where they're all looking back at you, then to the other characters in sort of a reoccurring limbo. These characters are forever trapped in this DVD menu, at the mercy of you with that DVD remote. But when you see them awkwardly hanging around in their square, they have so many different expressions. Shrek glancing lovingly at Fiona. Fiona with a "ah, you boys" type of expression. Puss being annoyed with Donkey. Charming being charming. Harold looking in nervous disapproval at the ogres and donkey, Lillian trying to be optimistic about the situation, and Fairy Godmother is the most telling. She slyly and coyly looks at all the other characters on the menu, but when she's looking at you, she greets you with an empty smile. There's also something to speak about for each of the placements of these characters. The corners are the royal family, connected by Donkey, another hero, but it distinctly separates Fiona from her parents because of the lodge Shrek is putting in. Fairy Godmother and Charming having connections to all of the other characters so they can reach each and every one of them. And Puss and Gingy being the fairy tale creatures on the tops and bottom. Also, the rows have the women on one side, the fairy tale creatures in the middle, and then the males on the right. Which through and through confirms this is a Brady Bunch reference. This menu does a lot more for bonus content though. Each of these menu options have a short but rare scene of these characters isolated in a certain setting.
Do you have something you'd like to tell me?
We stand Lillian in this household. Look at her laughing at Shrek's jokes. She's adorable. She received the least amount of screen time in this movie, and that is probably the weakest part of this film. All you fakes stand Fiona until she's an ogre, but why choose the sequel when you can have the original? Fiona lets out a burp as you enter the Far, Far Away Idol. Probably one of the best DVD features you should ever check out. Please do. Harold!
Oh, hello.
Looks like we just caught him on the crapper, like...
Oh, yes, I was merely pinching one out.
He does not look like he wants us to know he's here. Which kinda serves to the movie because this is the Poison Apple's back room. Fairy Godmother's bubbles serve as warp points to different scenes in the movie. Each of these are perfect areas for these characters to represent their personalities. And that doesn't even go into the options. Why are you looking at me like that? All I have to say is it is impressive the amount they packed onto one Shrek 2 DVD. The special features alone is more than most DVDs have. There's just bonus hours of so much content where you can look behind the scenes of the movies as well as see the actors and directors talking about the production. For me, the behind the scenes of the animation was so cool. I never grasped that this is actually a job people do. As well, the technical goofs, similar to how I love looking into video games, this was a small crack in the wall looking at the many pitfalls that happen with this sort of animation. And they picked an amazing last scene for this.
Oh, thanks.
Why does this have its own credits? Although the Fairy Godmother scene gave me nightmares,
No, really, I'm fine. Really, I'm fine.
but not more than the audio options screen.
Well, we might as well give them what they want, eh?
Oh. And finally, a staple of early 2000s DVDs are the horrible games you have to control with your television remote. This is stored within DreamWorks Kids. Hey, gang! Yeah, you know, kids. And the bonus content here is staggering. Yeah, they're not the pinnacle of game design, but a lot of DVDs don't have this. Even just this trivia quiz about stuff that happened in the movie was a lot for me. Not to mention they rendered a whole walking sequence for the quiz to take place in as you walk closer to the castle. There's also Puss in Boots hide and seek. This sold me on the DVD. Don't point that sword at me. Anyways, that's not all. We also have an interactive map of Far, Far Away, which the actual thing isn't all that impressive, but it does show off that there was a thoughtful world here, and when you watch the movie with relation to this map, it makes it so all of the events sort of are pieced together within a world, instead of just scenes that happen in random places. Oh, and there were a ton of printables from this DVD. You would put the disc in your computer and it would open a web page where you would have bookmarks, crosswords, and other things you could color in. Ma! Get the genuine Hewlett Packard! And one of the best things is in special features for some reason, the Far, Far Away times. This is like you did not need to do it, but they did so much anyways. It essentially is a newspaper of all the things happening within the movie, as well as advertisements for many of the locales within the movie. And if you remember looking in the background when they enter Far, Far Away, you will have a giggle when you see Farbucks Coffee. That exists here, but on a grander scale. God, Lethal Arrow, Baskin Robin Hood, Pork Illustrated, Armani Armory, Abercrombie and Witch, Saxon Fifth Avenue. It's so much. And that doesn't even go into the bonus art they include or stuff from the movie that you can actually look at closer. This movie did not need to provide all of this extra content for viewers, but it did because you can tell Shrek 2 was a labor of love. For somebody that does deep analysis of things and appreciating the hard work into every stinking detail, this DVD menu offers that at an ogre-sized amount. Also, Far Far Away Idol, I'm kind of worried about putting it in because they sing like copyrighted songs, so check it out if you can. Which reminds me, the music in this movie, oh! I do not know a movie with a more immaculate soundtrack. Songs from several different genres, many with their own choreographies and beautiful scenes. God, the music in this movie is just, oh my God!
You know, when I started this, I'm like, this would be a funny April Fool's video, so I'm gonna do it. I started it, like, on the weekend? And here we are, and it's 11 minutes. I did not think I would have 11 minutes to talk about this bullshit, but somehow we made it work. We're here all together, and I just want to say thank you for sticking with me. This was a fun video, honest to God. Like, I just wanted to do it. I do intend to do Shrek reviews this year. That was kind of, this is testing the waters. See how my audience feels about Shrek content. I'm gonna still do it, but I still kind of wanted to see. And also, this was just the funniest idea. I was like, oh my God, this is like the meest April Fool's thing. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you to the patrons, all the supporters from all different avenues. I feel just on a record player saying that stuff, but genuinely, you guys help out tremendously. And I'm always surprised by how much you guys support me. And that's why I constantly want to work hard and keep doing stuff and work myself to the bone. And then you're like, don't do that. And I'm like, but I gotta, you know it is. Anyways, I'll probably see you next week. I have a really big video. It's on the Sonic trilogy of games, and it's like looking like a 25 to 30 minutes. So we'll see. Take it easy, and I will see you on the flip side.